So you're saying with Hilton Honors, I can use points for a free night stay anywhere?
Anywhere.
What about fancy places like the Canopy in Paris?
Yeah, Hilton Honors, baby.
Or relaxing sanctuaries like the Conrad in Tulum?
Hilton Honors, baby.
Ooh, what about the 5-star Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives?
Are you gonna do this for all 9,000 properties?
When you want points that can take you anywhere, anytime, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay. Book your spring break now.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Speaking with Confidence, the podcast that helps you build the soft skills that lead to real results. Communication, storytelling, public speaking, and showing up with confidence in every conversation that counts. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you on a journey to becoming a powerful communicator. If you've ever been told to just be confident while your hands are shaking, your mind is racing, and you're wondering what's wrong with you, this episode is for you. Today's guest is Hufsah Ahmad. Hufsah is a licensed therapist, scientist, award-winning mental health advocate, behavioral health consultant, and 2-time TEDx speaker. She is known for combining science, clinical practice, and stand-up comedy to help individuals reframe their struggles as pathways to resilience. Drawing from her personal experiences with serious mental illness, addiction, imposter syndrome, and the late diagnosed neurodivergence, Hufsah captivates audiences with her powerful story, unique insights, and authentic charm. Hafsah, welcome to Speaking with Confidence.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me. Thank you, viewers, for viewing or listening.
Well, you know, you have such an incredible story, and I know we're going to get into it, but the things that really grabbed my attention, you're a 2-time TEDx speaker. You know, it's hard enough to get on stage once to begin with, but you've done it twice, and then you combine everything with stand-up comedy, and, you know, I think everybody could use a little bit of comedy in their life, whether they think they're funny or not. It's, you know, it's something that really kind of, at least from my perspective, helps change people's mindset. You know, if you just laugh a little bit, you know, laugh at the silly things that happen in life, it really does kind of change, your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Humor is grounding. Humor is connection. Humor has saved me from missing a flight to America. So it's very, very powerful in my opinion.
Well, let's go ahead and get into this, because, you know, you said you actually like who you are now, but that wasn't always the case. When did you first realize confidence wasn't something you were born with, but you could actually do something to rebuild it or to gain it?
Oh, yeah, I definitely, to go into my story, I think I started out, from what I hear, as a very happy baby that loved learning, started reading when I was 2 and using computers when I was 3. And by 2nd grade, after playing enough Oregon Trail and typing tutor, I could type faster than my teachers. And so I was very happy at the beginning, but life hits us hard. And when I was 9, I ended up moving to Irvine and I got bullied to the point where it was a daily struggle. I would cry all the time. And I walked into class in 6th grade where I was voted in a slam book dumbest and ugliest girl in school. So the kids wrote my name everywhere. And it's just, I went home and I wanted to die. And I attempted suicide in a very harmless way. I tried to overdose on Flintstones vitamins. It's like one of those things I tell people, like, you can't OD on Barney Rubbles, so don't feel bad for me, you know? And so that kind of set me up for a path where I realized I don't belong everywhere and I'm not okay the way I am. And so I'd have periods where I was depressed and isolated, and then I'd go to a nerd school at engineering college, and I'm the queen of nerds, class president, student body president. And then entering the real world after college, I'm not that cool. I am weird. I'm not accepted. And there was a point where it became very internalized. Like, I'm not okay the way I am. Like, at work, they found out that I had mental illness. I have bipolar disorder, and suddenly people are different. So after years of getting this message ingrained to me that I'm not okay the way I am, I reached the lowest point of my life where I ended up relapsing after 10 years of sobriety, and just, long story short, disaster. And I became so broken. And that's what really put me on the path to change a lot of things. And ultimately, I got that positive feedback where I was becoming more comfortable, and people were okay with that because I was in a new environment. Like, I started a new job where I could start over fresh, and that feedback loop of me being me and receiving positive feedback and me not being tied back by what other people thought, that's whenever the confidence came. And confidence is not going to be unwavering, okay? If someone's depressed or messed up a speech, you're like, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt the confidence, or even life events. But if we understand that at our core, if we could become comfortable with ourselves, that's where we shine, and that's where we connect beyond everything. And that's when we stop caring about the people that think we're weird.
Exactly. And I think it's so hard to get to that point, to not care about what other people think and have that confidence. And you say that confidence is going to waver, and that's true for, I don't care who you are. And I come from the sport industry. The greatest athletes of all time, they will tell you that they're confident. They're not always confident that it comes and it goes. And so for, I'm using air fingers quotes here, us regular people, of course it's going to come and it's going to go. And it's hard to not care about what other people think. And so how did that process come about for you? And my guess is sometimes you still do care, and you find yourself slipping back into that, but you have to pull yourself back out. How does that process work for you?
To give you an idea, I used to care what everyone thought at all times. Like, for context, I was on a plane and I was talking to a professor who went to the same grad school he taught at, the grad school I went to. And then everything was great. And then I had mentioned my boyfriend twice in 2 sentences. I didn't mean to come off as like, oh, you're hitting on me. It was just something that, I don't know, I kind of wavered, and he immediately shut down. And it took me a while to figure out, because I hyperanalyzed this every day for months and months. Like, why did it happen? It was like, oh, I did that. And it's like every connection meant so much to me. And so I definitely would say I'm probably the worst people, because everyone would say, stop caring what people think, stop caring what people think. And it's not easy. Like, my TEDx talk, whenever it came out, the first one, Relapse is Part of Recovery, like, Tim, like, it got such mean comments, like, your voice makes me want to kill myself. If you were my counselor, I would kill myself. I hate everything about this person. And that hurt. I do stand-up comedy. Bombing hurts, being trash talked by people, because people are going to try to pull you down if you're in the wrong environments. That hurt. It destroyed me in, online harassment. When my young cat of a year and a half passed away, people made memes of my dead cat. So it's like, these are all very horrendous things that I just don't care about anymore, because it became, one, a point of exhaustion that I can't deal with this anymore. And two, it's a perspective about, do these people matter? Do I respect them? And then three, it's just about accepting not everyone's going to like me, okay? In high school, most people didn't like me. The nerds did. I'm not in a world where I'm surrounded by nerds. And to think like, okay, losers on the internet, do I care? People making comments, it's them, it's not me. And it becomes hard when it's your friends and your colleagues if they don't like you. But at the end of the day, it's just, I became so worn out by thinking that I just had to reach a point of accepting that I can't control what people think. I can only control my own actions, words, and take accountability when I'm wrong. But other than that, it's not required. No one is really required in my life besides my loved ones. Like this coworker, doesn't matter. This networking opportunity doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess even at some point, even loved ones have to be moved outside your circle at some level, right? You know, if if it's not healthy, if they're part of the problem, and obviously I'm not advocating that we take our brother or sister and because they made us mad yesterday, we move them out. But there's I mean, everybody has to decide these things for themselves, and when they've crossed those boundaries and refuse to acknowledge or understand how their behaviors are affecting other people, that's, you know, individuals have to make those decisions. You know, but you've lived on both sides of confidence and being bullied. You know, losing your voice and then coming back and leading rooms. What did the bullying teach you about how people perform confidence versus actually having confidence? Those to me are two different things.
So to clarify, I feel I'm a little bit confused by your question.
You know, so for example, when I say perform confidence, you know, they may act with bravado. They may say, you know, pretend that they have this confidence, but deep down inside they're having that inner struggle. They're having that negative self-talk, that failure mindset or that mindset of I'm not good enough to be here.
Yeah, so like the bully is like projecting confidence when they're really not confident.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I've studied a lot about bullying, trying to understand. I've talked to a lot of therapists. I've talked to a lot of people, and there's two camps. One is the bullies. We shouldn't call them bullies. We should call them children who bully because they're going through their issues, and we should look at it with empathy, which I think there's validity, but I would not classify every bully. Because there are bullies as adults. I've been bullied in the workplace. You know, the bullying doesn't stop in the playground. Right. It really repeats itself that, sure, maybe a kid's getting abused at home, but I definitely think in elementary school going to I went to an elementary school farther from my home. We had to drive there, and it was filled with a lot of affluent people, where it's like, you know, it becomes less about like crying for help and more about just weird dominance things that it's hard to explain, but it's like, I think one thing that we really have to understand is like, true, maybe there's bullies that are hurting inside. But I think what's more accurate is that sometimes people, like, I'm sure the viewers and listeners have faced this where people bully because they're insecure. Like I went to an Ivy League school and I graduated from a top engineering college. And so going into the mental health workplace where you don't have people who are valedictorian, they're just doing this job, there's friction, like a jealousy. And this is what my supervisors have said, where I have been told that I am a mirror that exposes people's insecurities. And I've been told that, you know, people are very intimidated by me because I'm smart. And this is when my self-esteem was so low, I thought I was literally stupid. So I was like blown away. What is going on? And so it's sort of sometimes people who are high achieving or great speakers or accomplished will awaken parts in other people. And I think that's when I started to let it go, that this is their issues. They're saying, I'm ethical, I'm hardworking, I'm compassionate, I care, I want to help even the most symptomatic and sickest people in the world. That's what I want to do. And it awakens something. And when you start to realize it's not about you, it's about them, that's whenever you start to be free from the torment that you experience.
Right. And that's a powerful thought. And you know, to get to that point.
So good, so good, so good.
Spring styles are at Nordstrom Rack stores now, and they're up to 60% off. Stock up and save on Rag & Bone, Madewell, Vince, All Saints, and more of your favorites.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Why do we rack? For the hottest deals. There's so many good brands.
Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
You know, that breakthrough must feel like one of the biggest weights off your shoulders than really anything else, because that's what helps you be able to actually move forward.
Yeah, and I would say I realized this probably in the last month. Like, it has been so bad, particularly I entered private practice therapy, and I already have my speaking business, but I needed to go solo full time because of these workplace conflicts, these kind of dynamics that I was just tired of, and being, the only minority or nerd or neurodivergent in a sphere of other people just doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I was having so many interactions where I just saying the wrong thing. And like, I have bipolar, I have ADHD, and I'm going to say stuff that I don't mean. And oftentimes I say things that to me make sense, but end up offending someone, where it's just, I remember I sent a message just, in my mind, politely requesting a refund to this therapist, like coach or whatever. And in my mind, I gave compliments because I genuinely meant that. He was furious. He said, "You hurt me. You're disingenuous. You can't say my book changed your life and then say this. And so I'm giving you a refund, not because the policy allows it, but because I don't want to have anything to do with you. And I'm removing you from all of my communities and blocking you," which is pretty insane, especially since I had left a 5-star book review that was 5 paragraphs long about genuinely, which I ended up deleting because it's like, well, okay. So it's like, those type of things were just deriding my mental health. And I had to reach a point where it's like, I can spend 20, 30 minutes on a message and it doesn't work. And I can't let these people rule my mind. If someone is going to behave so strangely and extremely when I'm well-meaning, then I don't want to have anything to do with them because they're going to continue to stress me out.
Right.
And again, past probably 3 weeks where I just reached a breaking point where I could not take it anymore and I just had to relinquish control. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how does that feel?
It feels like a very heavy burden has been lifted. And I have to say, I can't just say, oh, it's, overnight in 4 weeks. I think it was a very long process. Kind of like I tell people in therapy or, if you want to speak, like it's chiseling a statue. You're not going to chisel and get there right away. It's going to be gradual. And sometimes, you chisel wrong or sometimes it's a great chunk. But at the end of the day, it's continuous. And so I had to really mature. I did 12 steps. And that really forced me to look within. And, I had done wrong. And I thought, okay, when I make amends, we'll be friends again. And I had to face the fact that when I tried to, many people didn't reach out. And I had to just accept that as much as it hurt that I'm trying to be a good person, but I don't have that control. It's a lot of reading I did. I quit social media. By the way, social media ruined my life and made this completely worse. So getting off of it helped a lot. I quit for like 9 months, if not a year. And now, I read and I'm much happier. But it's just, you have to do a lot of self-exploration and understand what's important. And I think the more you become outward driven, like, I want to provide service. I want to help people instead of looking inward. Like, why don't people like me? Like, why don't this? That's when you start to grow.
Yeah, let's talk about the social media for a second, because I did want to get into that. When you took that break, how did you see your social confidence improve? And what was the most? What's the connection that most people miss between social confidence and that era of social media? If that makes sense.
Okay. So this story is pretty crazy about how I got off of it, because I was on Twitter all day long because I'm a comedian. I need to make jokes, and I saw my mind, like in retrospect, just decline. Like I started off as a very happy person, and now I'm getting to fights. I'm spending all my time thinking of what I'm going to post. I'm thinking about, so what someone says, every moment of the day is being dedicated to social media, which I think is, it's part of my career. And then you reach a point where it's like you make so many mistakes, or it's just, I think, you know what? It was my boyfriend. He was the one that it's a cute story. We were out writing together. He's a writer. And then I was on my phone and he said, "Are you on Twitter?" And I said, "I will neither confirm nor deny whether I'm on Twitter." And he hands me like a gift wrapped item. And I open it and it's a book. And he said, "Whenever you feel like going on Twitter, read this book instead, because this is really destroying you." So that was like, I reached a point where it's like, I cut it out a lot, but with that conversation, he's like, "You have to get off." And I could barely read a page at a time. My attention span was so bad that like I would struggle so much to be able to do it. But with time, I got better. And I had this weird urge to scroll, like move my finger and zone out. So I uninstalled the apps, and mobile Chrome app, they make it very irritating. So you just give up. And I had to switch to news articles, because that would satisfy my desire to scroll and zone out. But it was more long form than tweets or reels. So that helped build it. And then as I started to read more, I was like, wow, this is really fun. I'm not angry and agitated. I'm not trying to perform and get people to like me. And I started to read even more. Now I read on a daily basis, at least an hour a day, if not more, and listen to audiobooks and long-form podcasts. And one thing that I realized is how much social media doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get this like. It doesn't matter if someone gets mad at you. The more you engage, the worse you feel. And social media is not a requirement of life. I hate that people think it's an expectation. It's ruining people's mind. It's making people be jerks to each other, not just online, but offline. It's leading to just this constant fight or flight freeze mechanism. And also I realized, like, I hate Facebook. I hate Meta. I hate Instagram. They listen to my conversations. They read my emails. They read my texts. They sell my data, all to market to me, to manipulate me and give me ads. And it's like, why would I volunteer my time for them to make money? Why would I spend 4 hours a day giving them data for them to make lots of money while I lose money on terms of advancing my life? So it's like now I just have this hatred for it, and I do have to use it more now for business reasons. But I think understanding that your life is being ruined, they're manipulating to you to use you for money, and you're not having social connections. Like liking someone or a comment is not a social connection. You pick up the phone or whatever you need to do, call a few friends a couple times a week. That's where the joy comes from.
Exactly. You nailed everything there. It's not social at all. A like is not social. Reading a post is not social. And like you said, they've got access to everything about you. And it's, we're too far down this road, from a societal perspective. I don't know how you put the toothpaste back in the tube, but they have access to everything. Absolutely everything. Even as we're recording this, the reality is Facebook hears this, Instagram hears it, Twitter hears it, X, whatever it's called. And when you go on those platforms, they're going to target those advertisements and target other posts to exactly what you're talking about. And like you said, right now, my Facebook feed really doesn't have any of my Air Fingers quotes friends on it. It has advertisements. It has sponsored things. It has, buy this or, go to this funnel or whatever it is. And it's like you said, being a solo entrepreneur, it's a necessary evil to be on some of those platforms. And what are you going to do? Except for, resist the urge to click on every sponsored ad. But they make it so hard. They do.
I am now immune to clickbait. It took a very long time, but it's like I choose where my attention goes. I had a client. So I normally have wrist braces on because I hurt my wrist. And so typing became very difficult. So through Gemini in my Google Workspace, I have an AI note taker, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's legally they cannot send it anywhere. So I explained this to my client so it can help me take notes. But she's like, I don't want to use AI. And it's like, okay. She's like, I know it's more work for you. And it's like, okay, I respect that. And then she talks about how she's doom scrolling on Instagram. And I'm like, why are you okay with Instagram when you're not okay with an AI note taker?
Right.
Like, do you know which one is worse? And it just kind of hit her. And, a lot of clients have ADHD, and, a lot of people think they do. I don't know if they do or not. That's not my business. Right. But our attention span is diminished because you have to have a short attention span to be on social media. Right. And, I had gone on Blue Sky, which is it was supposed to be the better Twitter, thinking I needed to. And I felt like I was going to have an aneurysm. There were so many posts, just so many different things. 3 of them were at least the same topic, highly depressing. And I just shut off the app because I said my attention span is now too long for social media. So,
and that really kind of translates into interpersonal communication, right? I mean, because you can't even pay attention to what somebody's saying, long enough to really have a conversation, because again, that number one, it's the attention span, and number two, you want to hurry up and get back on Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is, because God forbid you miss a post from somebody. It's the non-social interaction of social media has really caused some serious side effects of the true social connections of people in real life.
Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, unlocking the power of Thinkorswim, the award-winning trading platforms loaded with features that let you dive deeper into the market. Visualize your trades in a new light on Thinkorswim desktop with robust charting and analysis tools, all while you uncover new opportunities with up-to-the-minute market news and insights. Thinkorswim is available on desktop, web, and mobile to meet you where you are. It's built by the trading obsessed to help you trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
Yeah, absolutely. It's derided our ability. It has this suspiciousness. And I think, so I read a book called The 4 Agreements. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. So long story short, you don't really need the book. It tells you on the cover. The 4 Agreements are based on some Toltec wisdom. Book is really spiritual, but the 4 rules are very important. The first one is, be impeccable with your word, which means don't trash talk, don't gossip. I have completely removed that stuff that, say I'm at work and I'm really irritated. I'm going to call my friend in New York who has nothing to do with those people and talk to him, but I will not talk trash about a coworker to another coworker. Right. Not only because that's a bad idea, but that is character assassination. It's very unfair to that person to ruin their reputation. And I know what it's like to have my reputation ruined when I didn't do anything wrong. So, and also tell the truth, don't lie. The second thing is, don't make assumptions. And the third thing is, don't take things personally. And the fourth thing is always do your best. And so for 2 and 3, those are very, very important for public speaking as well. And also life is that don't make assumptions and don't take things personally, because assumptions, what the phrase is, don't make a ass out of you and me, Right. And it's true, because assumptions are where all the misunderstanding happens. It's like if someone says something mean to me in person, I could simply say, and I'm borrowing from Jefferson Fisher, who's a great communication coach. I'm sure you know of him, Tim. Yeah. And so, did you mean for that to come off as patronizing? Or what did you mean by that? Right. Or, seeking the clarity, because a lot of times things are misunderstandings. And text, I don't know why people don't understand. Text makes no sense. Everything sounds sarcastic in an email, okay? There's no body language. There's no tone. There's no other information beyond a text. And so when people get so upset about this email or text I wrote, a lot of times I also use voice to text because I'm disabled. My pain is so bad, which is sad because I type 120 words per minute. So there's so many misunderstandings that come from assumptions. And then the second thing is taking things personally. So of course, when I started speaking, I have a funny story about my TEDx where the crowd, it was supposed to be 300 people. It was 60. And this crowd was so dead. And there was a comedian who went on before me. He was so funny, but no one laughs. It was, if you listen to the recording, it's just me laughing because they were so, I don't know, timid. So now I go, but I practiced my TED Talk 25 times in front of people and just, it was like muscle memory, but I was freaking out. Like, don't they find it funny? What's going on? Do they hate my talk? My talk has 250,000 views. So a lot of the comments are saying, yeah, that crowd was dead. So that was something that I took very personally when it was them. And if someone disagrees with you on social media, that's not personal. The idea that you can say something on social media and expect everyone to agree with you, that's insanity. Okay, insanity. I'm not talking about mental illness. I'm talking that is straight up insanity.
And I'm glad you say that, in terms of disagreements, because, what I would teach my students and what I tell people, there's certain things. Number one, I don't post I don't talk politics or religion on social media because it doesn't matter. There's no nuance there. There's no, you're going to offend 50% of the people no matter what you say because they're not going to hear it. They're going to have whatever thoughts that they have. There's no nuance there. And so you really have to think about, do you really want to go down that road? Because once you go down that road, there's no coming back from it. There really isn't. And, I tell people I don't post anything on social media that I would not say directly to my mom's face.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's hard. But you've got to really truly think about that. And again, you probably see this more than I do, being a comedian and some of your other things in the TED Talks, let them, you think about what Mel Robbins says. If you want to be nasty, go ahead, be nasty. Go ahead. Like you said earlier, it doesn't affect me. I'm not going to engage with that. You don't. And just like if somebody's going to heap all kinds of praise, let them, because again, you still don't know me. Thank you for the compliments. I appreciate the compliments, but that doesn't do anything to my self-worth. It's my inner circle. It's my family. It's those people that know me. That's where all those other things come from.
So I quit social media for about a year and I come back. Because I have to do Facebook because now it's about networking. And I used to tell a lot of jokes on social media. And so this one, it was more just an observation. Like, isn't it insane that we engineered food to be addictive and now we have to take Ozempic to fight the cravings for this addictive food? And I thought it was funny, I thought it was like, oh my God, this woman had hired me to give a keynote speech, probably 8 years ago, where I received a standing ovation. She blows up at me and she said, "Don't be so quick to judge, Hufsah. My daughters needed Ozempic and they weren't addicted to food and they tried." I don't know. I was just like, that was really weird. So then I replied. I took probably 30 minutes to craft a very nice reply of, "Oh, I'm only saying this because I haven't had Doritos or chips in a year. And I had it and I finished the bag immediately. And then I found out that they actually engineer food to be addictive. So this was nothing to do with that. Don't be so quick to judge me too." And then she replies that explanation was needed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just mad at this point because I took so much time to be kind that I just used the voice to text to be like, this was very clear and whatever. And so what I realized from that interaction is two things. It's one, a lot of times people are acting in a way they wish they acted in the past. I'm sure someone has said something fat phobic and she wanted to say something, or maybe she said something and it wasn't heard. So now my statement has triggered her, something about her daughters being treated horribly because of their weight, that now she's blowing up on me. It doesn't have anything to do with me. It's not personal. It's her issues being awoken. And I think I also realized, like, me getting mad because I put in that time, it's like, I didn't need to do that. I mean, I didn't attack her. I just explained, like, this was made and it wasn't clear.
Right.
But then what I started to do is that if I made a post that I wanted people to think about, or my opinion, I would say, like, don't get mad at me. This post is meant to open discussion. So now if my posts are meant to open discussion, it makes sense to have contradicting views.
Right.
Like, it is something that I invite. And yes, I'm always afraid people are going to get mad at me. But at the end of the day, I think adopting that mindset that people will disagree, and that's good. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they're not projecting in that weird way. Projecting is the term for,
right.
like what we're talking about with that lady. So, yeah.
And see, the problem is, let's say it's a joke. If you have to write, it's a joke, then that automatically takes the funny out of the joke. Right. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. And you I don't want to go down this road really at all, but I do need to say this because, again, I'm a lot like you. I got the ADHD, and if I don't say it, it's gonna drive me nuts. I don't know if you remember, they used to have commercials. You talk about, engineering food to be addictive. There was a commercial. I think it was Utz. Bet you can't have one, just one. And then Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. And so they take those subliminal messages and drive that even further with that food engineering. You're absolutely right. And but now let's get off of that because now I've said it. But let's talk about public speaking anxiety, because again this is real, and especially when we talk about younger generations. All right. Mm-hmm. And you talk about public speaking anxiety, in a way that doesn't shame people, which is great, because I mean, you could go on all kinds of, different, forums and platforms, whether it's Reddit, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's X, and all these people that have this anxiety and some of the things that are said. But what's the biggest lie anxious speakers tell themselves before they walk on stage?
So let's see. I would say the biggest lie they have, I would say there's two. One is fortune telling. They're trying to predict the future. And then two is mind reading. They're trying to predict how people are going to respond. So those are technically called cognitive distortions through cognitive behavioral therapy, but you could just call it unhelpful thinking styles because, it's not really clinical. And the thing is, we have to understand that our brain takes shortcuts for two reasons. Is that we're bombarded by so much information, sounds, taste, hearing things, like what you see, just everything is too much for the brain to process. So we do need shortcuts. So that's where, unfortunately, our shortcuts can backfire. And the second thing is evolutionary, is that we didn't have time to think about whether that tiger was a friend or a foe. We didn't have time to get to know it. We just needed the answer. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we're not in danger all the time, but our brain still operates in the same way.
Right.
So when people start writing the future in their heads, and then they get in front of people and they start imagining what people are saying, that's where the anxiety can be very harmful.
Right.
And it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. And a lot of people I teach, once they learn these things, it really helps quite a bit. And there have been folks I've worked with through a trauma therapy called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which, very long story short, is even in one session, if someone has some quote unquote trauma or even just a really disturbing memory, we can process that and practice a future, so that way they're more confident when they're actually doing the thing we practice in session.
Right. That's interesting. And I gave it was just a 5-minute presentation last week, and I talked about this topic, and I kind of related it to
Kayak gets my flight, hotel, and rental car right, so I can tune out travel advice that's just plain wrong.
Bro, Skycoin. way better than points.
Never fly during a Scorpio full moon.
Just tell the manager you'll sue. Instant room upgrade.
Stop taking bad travel advice. Start comparing hundreds of sites with Kayak and get your trip right. Kayak. Got that right.
My fear of heights. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm scared of death heights. It's just, there's a couple things I'm scared to death of. Heights and snakes, I'm out. Right. And I told my wife and daughters, I will save you from a snake one time. You get one time each. If you put yourself in that position a second time, that's on you. I can't help you. But I'm scared of death heights, but I was also a paratrooper in the Army. And exactly.
Thank you for your service, Tim.
Thank you. But people would say, well, if you're scared of heights, how'd you end up jumping out of the plane? And I joke that, because I had somebody behind me pushing me. And, and sometimes, that's what you have to do and to get over it and understand that fear is there, not disregard the fear, understand that it's there and still do it and still, however that happens, it's when we become paralyzed, to me, that and we stop and we avoid that and do everything that we can to not do that thing. That's when it to me causes the real damage and anxiety, not only to ourselves, our self-worth, our self-being, but especially from a professional perspective, what that does to our careers.
So I was pretty good at public speaking growing up in high school, less about the skills, but because I was very obsessed with Lord of the Rings, which I still am. And I had a cardboard Frodo that I would carry to. So every presentation was me trying to figure out a way that I could use Lord of the Rings in order to convey this topic. And I remember I was a nerd, right? So I was in the advanced classes, but I had to take health class with the regular folks. And so I was literally relating Lord of the Rings. I'd printed out cards with scenes, and I was telling the stories as everyone was looking, and I know they were just like, this is insane, but I was the most captivating. But then later, after I developed mental illness and go through my arc of, overcoming stigma and realizing mental illness is okay, I wanted to speak about it. So I went to a training. And at this training, while I was speaking, I was trembling out of my mind. And a guy in the back of the room starts laughing and says, look at her, she's shaking. And that had got to be the most mortifying experience ever. Oh. But I kept going because it was important to me. And right. I mean, now I think I'm a great speaker, but I still have anxiety. Sometimes if I'm off of practice or I don't feel confident, or just I get anxiety randomly because I have a disorder. But another thing to understand is fear isn't necessarily bad, because fear is one of the 7 emotions. Like, you've seen Inside Out, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, fear is one of the 5 emotions. There's 7 total, where it's happiness, fear, sadness, disgust,
anger.
Anger, yeah. And then the 6th and 7th is excitement, which is kind of similar to joy. And the 7th is sexual excitement. So fear exists really as a way to give us a heads up. And I think also fear gives us a little bit of insight. Like, hey, I want to do a good job. Like, I want to impress these people. Like, your fear is letting you know that you have a valid desire, a goal that you can actually accomplish. And when you learn to accept the fear, it really helps where you become a partner with the fear versus just overcast by it.
Yeah. So you did this and you jumped into stand-up comedy. I'm laughing because, that's stand-up comedians is kind of the people that I look to at being really good public speakers, because they do a lot of the same things. They script, they practice, they script, they practice, and it's kind of what good public speakers are, right? But it seems to me you jumped right right into choosing the hardest level first. What did that teach you about that traditional public speaking never could?
Well, so this is an interesting story, right? I was told to do stand-up comedy by my therapist when I went to her for depression and hopelessness and loneliness, which, by the way, was terrible advice, and I could sue her if I wasn't performing internationally still. So if I lose my following, I will. But at the time, we're in a stalemate. But she put it in as, it's a way for you to smash the stigma. I'm a stigma smasher because humor is a way to connect. And I didn't think I was funny at all. And I thought it was weird she found our sessions funny. I'm like, I don't think it's hilarious to talk about wanting to not live. But, when I did the stand-up comedy, it was like great the first time. Every comic, usually comics, the first time's amazing and the second time's a bomb and it hurts. And I also, around this time, 2016, there was a lot of hate crimes towards my people. And I felt it was more important to talk about being Muslim because I wanted to normalize it and connect. So I felt like I was having panic attacks before I went on stage. That's the level of what I felt. Wow. But I kept doing it because I cared. And bombing never feels good. Even I think I didn't bomb, but I didn't do great a couple weeks ago in Oakland, and I was shaking. I felt awful. So that feeling never really goes away. Bombing really sucks, but it's kind of like life, right? You're going to have ups and downs, right. And the downs come more for other people and less, but all you have to do is enjoy the ups because it's inevitable. You're going to struggle. It's inevitable. So you might as well learn something from it.
And it's good to hear. It really is. Because again, you go back to what I said to open the show up with, to me, laughing changes your mindset. If you can laugh at yourself, that really can change your mindset. I use a lot of self-deprecating humor, and it doesn't matter it really doesn't matter. It could be in a team meeting. It could be on stage. It could be, even in a serious conversation with my wife or my kids, I'll throw in something, whatever. And they say, you can't be serious for 10 minutes. No, I can't. I'm sorry. But I don't think that I'm funny. But I think of things, I'm like, whatever it is, it just comes out. Mm-hmm. And to me, that releases, at least for me, releases a ton of tension. And it allows me to focus. It allows me to get a point across, or to share something that may be received better even.
Oh yeah. Humor, it's like I feel like if you put all the benefits of humor into a pill, it would be the most powerful, happy pill ever. Like it would just relieve you physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I work a lot with people with very, very severe traumas, and doing this treatment called EMDR, or even talking about it, is very triggering. So a lot of times humor comes in, where it's like, okay, something dark, and I make a really dark joke, or they make a joke and we laugh, and they go from like a 10 to a 4. That it's so relieving that a lot of times when people are feeling like, I don't want to let them go because they're too triggered. Right. We don't even talk about it. We just joke. And the laughing and laughing and laughing brings them down. Laughter also brings down defensiveness. So, for example, I need to get back to America. I'm in Costa Rica, and for some reason, I only have 30 minutes to get to it. So I'm asking people, like, hey, can I go? I have to make this flight. And this couple stops me, and they're like, we do too. And now I know I should have said, then come with me. But I was like, oh my God. And so I'm just talking. I don't remember what I did, but I made some joke and they laughed, and then they turned around and said, you can go. And so it's just something about humor that really lowers defenses, and people love people who are funny. But I think it's just something that I think that's why I feel so successful, and why I'm so good at connecting, and why people randomly talk to me at a coffee shop. Is because I have this approachability and this lightheartedness. That's very important.
Is that something that you always had, or is it something that you kind of developed as you've grown?
I'm not sure, because the thing is, so I found my Hobbit fan site. It was furry-footed.net. I found it on Wayback Machine, which is the Internet Archive.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a page that was just Lord of the Rings jokes. It was like jokes about hobbits, jokes about Boromir, jokes about Aragorn. And I was like, what? And I read them. And like a lot of them were corny, but one of them I thought was like really good. It was like, one ring to rule them all. Isn't that supposed to be AT&T slogan? Which I think was like a pretty good joke for a 13-year-old, you know? But it's like, I didn't know I was funny. I'd always been told that I come off as funny or I say funny things that aren't jokes. So it's something that I wonder I did without knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you know, for my TED Talk, I would say that would be something where I would have loved to have more types of humor that were related to the mental health versus jokes in between. But I think it's something that I can say I consciously do now, but I don't know when it really came from.
Mm-hmm. How about crowd work? You know, I studied crowd work, you know, as I'm doom scrolling on YouTube, you know, the different comedians. But it's for work, right? It's for work. I'm learning. Crowd work requires presence, not perfection, right? How did learning to be spontaneous and being present change how you handled fear?
So I definitely did crowd work by accident. And I feel like, I remember I did a show in San Diego, and I don't know, there was two 18-year-olds that were talking. And I ended up asking them, like, are you guys having a podcast in the front row because everyone can hear you? And then I don't want to say it, but they accused me of something like wild. And I was like, that's not what I was saying. And it was like such an awkward. So I was like, okay, you know, what's your name? You know, and like the tension's there because I don't know a way out. And the audience is waiting. And then finally, I think I asked him, oh, do you ever go to Orange County where I live? And he's like, no, I never do. And I was like, great. So I won't run into you. And then boom, everyone laughs. Back to the show. If the crowd, people disrupting find you funny, they'll stop.
Yeah.
And so it was something that it's just, I can't even explain it. It just comes out. And when I first started to do it by accident and I started to see people laughed harder at that than my jokes, and people had a lot of respect, that's when I became more comfortable. And then sometimes I would specifically do sets and, you know, like I see like a crowd that's interesting. It's like, you know, it was all like white dudes and then, you know, one Hispanic fellow. And so I might like ask them and make jokes. So it is practice, but the reason that crowd work works is because it's impressive.
Yes.
Because you know it's not scripted. You know they came up with it off the top of their head.
Yeah, yeah. Have you heard of Hey Lucy? I don't know her real name. She's Canadian, but she wears a red wig, dresses like in the 20s. She's probably one of my favorites in terms of crowd work because her whole show is, for those who don't know, is about magic and crowd work, and it's phenomenal. I mean, she's a master. It's hilarious. So watch. But give me one thing anxious speakers should stop doing immediately.
Yes, get out of your head. It's not about you. It's not like, don't think what people are looking at. Just don't take it personally. If someone's on their phone, like, it doesn't matter. Okay. Like, if someone looks bored, maybe they're not, maybe it doesn't matter. Just focus on your words and how important the speech is for you. Like, focus on the message. Just really be mindful about the things you can control, which is your words and your message. And also, if you mess up, no one really cares. Most of the time, people don't even notice until you're like, I messed up. And it's like, you know, though if you say that, it's not the end of the world. But just get out of your head and just focus on the thing that matters, and that's your presentation. And also practice a lot. Practice a lot. Yeah.
So I gave, like I mentioned, I gave a 5-minute speech presentation last week, and I've watched it back because I go back and I watch it back to learn, and I've watched it back like 5 to 10 times already. And I saw something today at around noon where I said something that I didn't catch that I said, not even when I said it, and all the other times I watched, that really messed my closing up. Thinking back about it, I didn't even realize it. So understand that when you say a lot of times people don't know, they don't know. You don't even know sometimes, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's get out of your head. I love that. So where can people find you to connect with you? Because you're doing some really good work. I love what you're doing. Everything. Yeah. You're so impressive. You've got an incredible, future and business in front of you. So where can people connect with you to find out what you're doing?
So my website is hufsaahmad.com. hufsaahmad.com. You can email me. There, my business number's there. You can text or call me, but don't be weird. And I have an Instagram, Hufsah Ahmad. I have a LinkedIn, Hufsah Ahmad, and I have YouTube. I have lots of plans for content, but right now I'm in this paralysis stage where I'm afraid of social media, but I'm trying to get over that. I still have remnants of the fear from before my fast. So hopefully by the time this episode's out, I'm going to be putting out content.
Well, I hope so. And thank you so much for taking some time to spend with the Speaking with Confidence community and sharing your story. Very, very powerful messages. And I can't thank you enough for being willing to share it.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everyone listening or watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope to hear from you.
All right. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to get your free ebook, The Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. You can also register for the Formula for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.